Hi, I'm Debbie.
I'm Mahwish, and we are your Daily DM.
Welcome to our first episode, episode 1, where we're going to talk about work, life, and everything in between.
So exciting, Debbie. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So, welcome to this journey with us. All right, work. We have to do it. Many end up working 40 plus years, hoping to get to that time and place where we can stop living by someone else's timetable. And before you know it, we can get to a place where we're focused so much on the career, working to attain that freedom later in life, that we start to lose a little bit of a grasp on the fact that this is my life. We often hear about work-life balance, and especially with the current generation who has figured out that if you let it, work will take over your life, which can also mean our health. It can stress personal relationships. It can take a toll on us emotionally. Essentially, this essential thing, work, can sometimes take over and become the only thing. So I wanted to talk about that today with you. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Oh, by the way, for everybody watching us, we did not share any of our thoughts or questions before, so this is pretty, totally random, and that's going to be our format, right? That we will not share any ideas or questions before. So interesting thoughts, Debbie. I totally agree with that. And I think the new generation is more mindful of this work-life balance. And I put that in quotes because there's really no balance, right? And some of us struggle with it more than others. But I believe the newer generation has a better balance of it in comparison to some of our previous generations. Just because of the mindset differences, the cultural differences. But I also believe that in the newer generations, they look for innovative ideas on how we get to the point using technology, AI and so forth, right? That at least I don't think about all these ways, right? I'm still old school from that perspective. So, no, I totally agree with it. And I always wonder, what does that right balance look like? And I have never been able to answer that question. What does that right work-life balance look like?
Well, I don't know if I'm the older generation or not. I know I'm older than you, so I might be part of the older generation.
We're both, right? When I mean newer generation, I mean like the Gen Zs or whatever the newer generation is, right?
Whatever letter we're on right now.
Yes.
Well, personally, I've figured it out to be more like a work-life incorporation, right? It's not necessarily punching a time clock, getting in at 7 a.m., you take your break at noon, you go back to work at 1,
Right.
you leave at 4, and now I'm having my personal life or what have you. I mean, certainly there are some jobs that are like that, but the ones that I've been in for a long time, those lines can be blurred between personal and and your work life. I do think it's incorporating, but incorporating the two together in a way that allows you to maintain boundaries. So then that brings the whole question, what is it, right? When your boss is coming after you for things on the weekend or calling you and saying they really need to talk to you about something that could wait till Monday. How do you deal with that? Some of it's a little bit, I think it's technique, right? How do you maintain that team spirit, right? You're willing to do what you need to do, get it done, and then how do you still get your personal life in there? I think that it's a delicate balance, and I don't think that anybody has really mastered it. What
Yeah.
I would say is that it is my life, it is your life, right? And the fact that you need to make money, it's a real thing. They say like money is as important as air. You need both of them to breathe, right? So if you don't have money, you've got like a lot more stress, but at the same time, how do you maintain you in the middle of it? So, I
Right.
mean, that's like the age old question. I think that's what, as you say, current generations, that's what they're looking to figure out. But how do you do that in such a way that you still are coming across as the team player.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like, for example, for me, one of the ways, and I'm sure all of us carry the two phones, right? The personal and the work phone. And that helps me separate the work and the personal life. Because when I put essentially that phone away over the weekend, I check periodically, but I don't carry it with me. Mentally, it helps me just separate it out. Or during the night before I sleep, I put that phone away. So mentally, I'm separating from the work, right?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that I do, at least, that help me maintain my sanity. The other thing I do is sometimes I talk to myself at night. How important is this to stress over it? Before I didn't have that separation, right? Now I'm like, okay, what's the pro? What's the con? Why do I have to stress about it overnight? And when I talk to myself, it helps me think through why that issue is not as important as I'm making it to be.
It helps you put it in perspective.
Correct. So
Yeah.
those are the things that I do just to keep my sanity outside of everything else that we do, like exercise and try to eat healthy, right? But I physically create boundaries, such as going back to my cell phone. That's one of my ways of creating that physical boundary
Yeah,
for
I
myself.
do the same. Yeah, I also do the same. My work computer, I mean I work from home for unless
Right?
I'm traveling. And so for my work computer, I mute that thing at the end of every day so I don't hear somebody trying to ping me on Teams or somebody trying to set up a meeting or whatever the case is. Yeah, I do have a separate room for it, but that room doesn't have a door, so I have to find ways to mute it so that I can ignore it.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I try not to go into my office
yep.
during the weekends. If I have to do something, I just don't want to go into it because it just reminds me of work.
That's funny. That's cute. So those are all good points, Mawish. One thing that I was thinking of is so in my career, I have had several people, mostly females, but also males in there too, ask me for help, like mentoring type of activities, right? And I've met with them, and everyone's interested who comes to me. They want to know what they can do different or better to advance their career. And along the lines of your last question, how do you maintain boundaries? I've run across some people who are so boundary driven that
Hmm,
they come across as unwilling to
hmm,
be a good employee, right?
yeah.
So it's, I mean, I've had people say things, when I've talked to them a little bit about their career. What are you interested in doing? What types of roles are you interested in? The list is like, as long as I don't have to go anywhere, I get to work from home, but I get to do this and I get to travel and I get to, the long list of benefits. And then which left me with a feeling of, okay, there's really zero benefit to the employer at this point because the person just wants a check without actually giving any sacrifice, right?
Right.
So, so yes, we've got to maintain boundaries, but then how do you, I guess it had me think, okay, it's really important to have healthy boundaries,
Hmm.
but then I guess laying out the list of everything is maybe, how would you approach knowing you have to maintain those boundaries, but then, but not coming across like you're of no benefit to an employer, right? I mean, for me personally, it's, yeah, you know, yes, I can get behind whatever it is that we need to take care of here. I have no issue working until a job or a task is complete, even if it goes into late hours or what have you, or over several days. But I know that at some point this is not the norm, right? And so I don't know. How do you maintain the boundaries?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, even as as a leader myself, and you are as well, experienced leaders, for us, we think it's important, but for the other person, for our team members, it's not the same priority because they have their own, area that they're managing, or the site that they're managing, or the business that they're managing. So what I try to do is sometimes my team members tell me, well, how important is this in terms of
The scale.
1, 2, 3, right?
Priority.
Yeah, how important is it? And when we talk about it, it may not be as important as I think it is, or it may not, or it may be important, and then we just have to have a conversation that nope, this is above everything else, right? So in the same line of thought, what I try to do is, I get it, I understand that this is important, but this is how I see it in terms of priority or in terms of importance, where we're both in the industry where it impacts lives, right? So if it is impacting lives, that's important. There's no doubt about it. But if the impact is below that from a business perspective, then you just have to think through and prioritize and have that communication channel with your leader. And in some cases, we cannot have that open communication channel with our leader, right? Then I believe that you and I are in the place where we can have that executive decision saying, hey, team, go march towards that, or no, don't go march towards that because of XYZ reason. So in my mind, easier said than done, but that's how I think through it. What is this ask, whatever it might be? What impact does it have? Is it the business? Is it somebody else's priority? And if that's the case, they made up the priority. I say, okay, I understand this is your timeline, but I can get it done by this time because of XYZ reasons. But I do have to tell you that if I've known about this for 2 months and I haven't spoken up and I haven't prioritized, then it's on me.
Absolutely.
Right? Then I have no excuse. Then you got to work day and night to work through it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that was unexpected, then you just have to have that negotiation.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I struggle every day with this.
I agree with that. That's good.
We're always, competing with multiple priorities. Our theme is work, life, and everything in between, right? Sometimes it's very tough to juggle all the pressures, not just the work, but the life and everything in between. And I wanted to understand, you've got personal commitments and you've got family commitments and then you've got work commitments and you got to do it all, right? How are you able to manage it? And every time I see you have a smile and, you're glowing. So what's the secret, Debbie, of making sure that you're managing everything? I always feel like I'm behind on everything and I'm trying to catch up on everything. So what is it that you're doing that's a secret that everybody should learn about?
Oh, that's cute. I don't know if I have any secret sauce, but I'd have to say it's the word no.
Okay.
I have a lot of really great friends and people I've met throughout my career who've become friends. A lot of people that I love spending time with, but if you're not careful, your social calendar can kind of overtake your life. So
Yeah.
any of the downtime that I do have could be taken over pretty easily if I allow my calendar to get filled up. I do want to maintain relationships though, so that's very important, number one to me. So I basically schedule my friends and the time to get together with them like I schedule meetings at work, right? If it doesn't get into my calendar, it doesn't get done. And the reality is some of these folks that that are so important to me, I have to schedule them 3-4 weeks in advance so that we can go have dinner. But I'm very careful I'm very selfish, I would say, with my personal time. I know that I can't do everything, and that if I'm running from one person to the next person to the next, then there's going to come a point in time where none of my time with any of those people are good.
Yeah.
So, and today there's nothing that stops me from texting somebody, hey, thinking of you. I hope you're doing well. I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Or I miss you. Let's go have dinner. I can't this week, but what's next week like for you, right? And I'm very selfish with my time. The other thing is I'm especially selfish with Sundays because that's my day to protect because I have to go to work the next day, right?
Yeah.
So if I do go out on a weekend with friends, then it will be either Friday or Saturday. Almost never will it be on a Sunday, and that's just a way that I can set myself up for the weekend or the week coming, do a couple of errands. Almost always it's the meal planning and go to the grocery store, but then after that if I feel like going to lunch, I go to lunch, and then I do nothing for the rest of the day, and that's how I prep. Kind of along the same lines, you got to make sure you're getting sleep. Easier said than done, especially when you get older or if you're dealing with just challenges. For me, my brain just works nonstop if there are challenges that are unsolved, but really try to make sure that the sleep is there. But it's really being selfish with time. And to add to that, I don't need to go all over town to find something at a mall or whatever. I mean, the last time, I'm so rarely in physical stores anymore. I mean, Amazon, you can love it or hate it, but it saves time, right?
No, absolutely right.
Yeah.
It does save time. No,
What about you?
that's key, right? Being selfish with your time and who you spend it with.
Yeah.
And I think as you mature in age, as you get older, you appreciate the value of spending it with people you want to spend it with, right? Like,
Exactly.
it's not a popularity contest anymore.
Yeah, and to that point, my fiance and we've talked a lot about when every single time we get an invite, if it's not a clear, yeah, let's go do this with these people or this person, we go through a lengthy debate. Are we feeling obligated in this situation? Because
Yeah,
we don't want to do anything out of obligation.
right.
Because then you're not really paying attention to your own personal boundaries. Like anything that's an obligation, it's in conflict with who you are, right?
Yeah, no, well said, because then your mindset is very different. You're going into it thinking, I'm obligated to do so, and that's more draining. It drains you out. So,
Yeah.
well, you asked me a question, what do I do? I'm struggling with it. That's why I asked you, right?
You're like, what do I do?
But I think I have to be more selfish with time in general. I try to also not do things on a Sunday just to decompress and get my brain, my mental and my physical, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I also try to be just relaxed on a Sunday as much as I can. But then life happens and then you react to it. But no, well said. You just have to be selfish with your time. Sometimes I do things out of obligation, so I have to stop doing that.
Well, I don't think it's 100%, right? Sometimes there's going to be that obligation and you're going to do it anyway. And you're going to know it's an obligation and you're like, whatever, let's go do it. I
Yeah.
had one, yeah.
Yeah. It's a struggle, but I'll have to be mindful next time. Be selfish with your time. That's the new motto.
Yeah.
How do you sometimes I feel guilty saying no. Like, how do you overcome that?
I mean, that we could go into a whole other episode on how to
Okay, okay,
overcome
okay.
that.
Maybe continuation episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2, how do you get over feeling guilty? I mean, the short version is you just got to really figure out truly how to love yourself. That's what it
Right.
boils down to, right? Because you can like yourself, and learning how to love yourself is a journey, but it really is a long journey. It's a journey that takes a lot longer than it should, to be quite honest. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that for me is the answer to that. But it's a long topic, but anyway. Well,
Yeah.
I had one question
Sure.
for you, Mahwish. Okay.
Okay.
So, knowing what you know in your career, you've had a really successful career. We haven't talked about that today, but you and I have both had different levels of success in our career. I would say that they've been fruitful, successful careers. What is the one piece of advice you would give baby Mawish as she was starting her career journey? What would you tell her?
Yeah, that's a very deep question, and I will try to be as short as possible. I will tell her, breathe and don't be in a race to get to a place fast or faster, right? You can take your time and just appreciate your present moment because I was racing. I don't know towards what, but racing towards something. So I would say just be present and enjoy the moment that you're in and don't race towards what you think is success.
That's awesome. That's like the best advice for anybody going through any kind of goal achievement in their life. If you can't
Yeah.
enjoy that journey, then what is it
Yeah, I
for?
don't I don't think I've enjoyed it. I don't think I've enjoyed it because I was marching towards something.
Yeah.
And what that something is kept on changing. So you're marching towards a goal that is evolving and you're never satisfied, right? Because you don't know what that end game looks like. So
Yeah.
so I think over the past few years, it has I'm not marching towards anything. It's just I've gone from one end of the spectrum to another, hoping that I would know where I want to go. So I think it also has to do with the fact that sometimes when doors close, they teach you a lesson. And when you think this is the next step for you, and that door you think is for you but it closes, it gives you a lesson that you may not have thought about. I don't know, very tough to say, but when doors close on you, that's when you learn the most.
That's great advice. That's great advice even for now going forward. So it's good to have it and good to know it.
Does that make sense? I don't know. Does it make
It
sense?
totally makes sense. Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. My career, I could not have prescribed the path
No.
to go down that I would go down that would lead me to where I am today. And I
Yeah.
know that our audience of like 3 people, if that, if we're lucky, has no idea where
Maybe
we are today.
family and friends, right?
Yeah, family and friends. Um, but you just can't make it up. Like I think when you're young, you have an idea. This is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. I think that there's a cycle where we all, somewhere in the early 20s, don't want to work for anybody else anymore. We got to figure out how to, take control of our lives. And then at some point, we find our way to certain environments and,
Yeah.
and then it just unfolds from there.
And it's never a climb.
No.
The pictures used to show a climb, like a
Yeah.
ladder, right?
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
a zigzag and a downhill direction and then somewhat of it. It's all over the map.
It is all over the map. Yeah.
So whoever's listening, if you're young, know that it's never an uphill climb to whatever you think is the next role or the next move. It's always a zigzag and some downfalls, which teach you a lot more than that uphill climb.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome advice. Okay. Well, let's wrap this up, Mawis. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Your Daily DM. I'm Debbie.
I'm Mahwish. Hey Debbie, did we do okay or?
I don't know. We'll find out in editing, and you guys will see the final product. Thank
Okay.
you.
Look forward to it. Bye.
Bye.